All right, so I decided to actually walk through this activity with you guys this way instead of a video using the screencast. So once you have gotten onto the explorelearning.com website and enrolled in the class, you saw this on the bulletin board. What I want you to do is choose the growing plants activity here, okay? So it should look like this. So before I even open it and look at it and do an example or two, what we're doing here is think like a gardener. If you were growing some plants in your yard, some of the things you would want to have the healthiest garden possible. So of course, for a plant, we're going to need soil, we're going to need water, we're going to need light. But we got some other things that we can add to that. Like we've talked about a long time ago, doing photosynthesis as a plant can produce plenty of sugars for itself if it's got light and water and CO2. But like us, that's not all we live on. So there's other minerals, other nutrients that they would love to have. So when you do launch the gizmo a little bit, or again back to your own garden, adding fertilizers, compost, things like that, just going to make a healthier plant. But there's various combos. Some work better than others. Some of the fertilizers, actually, you can overdo it, plus water equals an acidic soil, and that can damage the plant. So what you would do is figure out the right balance for your garden, depending on what you're growing, and the right kinds of mulches, which is like compost, got a lot of nutrients in it, or fertilizers, and even the right amount of water. You can overwater. If you can picture soil, lots of air spaces in between. And this is again why farmers and gardeners like those earthworms, is because they create more air spaces by filter feeding through all that soil. But you can actually add so much water that all those spaces are filled up with water, and gases like CO2 and oxygen can't move around anymore. So overwatering is a possibility. So in this activity, I'm going to go ahead and launch it, and we're going to make a game out of it. Okay, so it's going to be a little contest. Where you land in the contest is just based on your own competitive nature. Okay, once you try doing this for 10 or 15 minutes, try different combos. And what we've got are three setups. So like something we would do in a classroom. This is going to be a 50-day experiment, but it, for us, takes about 30 seconds. And we've got some different kinds of seeds. We've got tomato seeds, we've got bean seeds, we've got turnip seeds. So you can play around with different kinds of seeds. So I'm going to do one sample. All right, I want to do a bunch of them. Whoops, goes into the little pot there, okay, and one in there. Now, if you're comparing, it would make sense, I hope, to you guys. We're going to use the same kind of seed in all three. If I use different seeds, then I'm not really sure what combos, uh, what factors going to be affecting the growth. So as you do these, good idea to do one kind of seed at a time. Let's say I want to try some fertilizer, but for whatever reason, I've done a little research, and I found that compost doesn't work great with tomatoes. I'm kind of just making that up just as a sample, so I'm only going to use the fertilizer. So I got 3 tomato seeds in. I've got my fertilizer. I'm going to leave these guys alone for now. Then you can decide how much you want to water them each day. So for now, let's just so you see how this works. I'm going to bump that guy up to 60. Let's put them all at 60. Okay, now here's the thing. If I left it like this, I would assume all three of these are going to grow the same. So the one other thing that I can adjust to experiment with is how much light. It's possible to have too much light for some plants. So this one I'm going to leave all 3 light bulbs on. This one I'm going to turn one of them off. This one I'm going to turn 2 of them off, but just for the heck of it, make it be the middle one that stays on. Okay, so let's see what happens when I push this button. The little arrow, the little play. We'll see what happens over 50 days. So let's watch our tomato plants grow. And in the end, they're starting to sprout. Well, you can't see that dark one, but he's growing. He's actually the tallest so far, which I'll talk about in 1 second when this is over with. But he comes to a dead stop. Okay, my days are up. Um, at the end of the day, after you've done this a bunch of times with the different kinds of supplies we've got, I'm kind of curious. Either take a screenshot or I'll take your word for it. Send me a message and tell me what your highest score was. Score is based on the height. Okay, let's just stick with the one thing, the height. So here's what's curious, and we'll kind of finish with this thought, is notice that the tomato in minimal light grew the same as this one, and it outgrew these in length Okay, but look at the mass, meaning there's more plant life there. So that's actually the healthier plant. Um, this guy is growing so fast because he's looking for something that he doesn't have enough of. And if you think back to that last lesson, those chemicals called auxins are going to cause a plant to grow towards light, phototropism. And there's minimal light here, and he's in a hurry to get there because if he doesn't get enough light, he's going to die. And this guy's just kind of taking his time because he's got kind of just enough, but not enough to really grow big and healthy. So this one, if we had this in the classroom and you gave it minimal light, it would grow tall and skinny and thin and would probably eventually die because as it grew, it would not be able to provide itself enough food by doing photosynthesis for the size of the plant. But they will grow quickly and tall, but that'll come to a quick stop if you don't give them enough light. Actually, if you grow them in the dark, if you put a bean seed in with all the nutrients or any kind of seed in the dark, it will still sprout and it'll grow, but it'll be white and it'll grow fast for a day or two looking for light. And if it doesn't find any, it'll die off. It's white because it doesn't need chloroplast until there's actually light available. Anyway, play around with this. Send me your best score. Let's just stick to the height. So actually, these two guys would tie, even though, you know what, do this. I'm changing my mind. Send in the height and the mass because this is actually the healthier plant. Play around with water amounts, play around with which kind of seeds you want to try, fertilizer, compost, so on. Okay? So have fun with that, and we will talk soon. All right?